Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton is a British racing driver currently competing in Formula One for Mercedes. In Formula One, Hamilton has won a joint record 7 World Drivers' Championship titles, and holds the records for the most wins, pole positions, and podium finishes, among others. Born and raised in Stevenage, Hertfordshire, Hamilton joined the McLaren Young Driver program in 1998. This led to a Formula One drive with McLaren from 2007 to 2012, making Hamilton the first, and so far only, black driver to race in the series. In his inaugural season, Hamilton set numerous records as he finished runner-up to Kimi Räikkönen by 1 point. The following season, he won his maiden title in dramatic fashion, making a crucial overtake on the last lap of the last race of the season to become the then youngest Formula One world champion in history. After 6 years with McLaren, Hamilton signed with Mercedes in 2013. Changes to the regulations for 2014 mandating the use of turbo-hybrid engines saw the start of a highly successful period for Hamilton, during which he has won 6 further drivers' titles. Consecutive titles came in 2014 and 2015 during an intense rivalry with teammate Nico Rosberg. Following Rosberg's retirement, Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel became Hamilton's closest rival in 2 championship battles, in which Hamilton twice overturned mid-season point deficits to claim consecutive titles again in 2017 and 2018. His third and fourth consecutive titles followed in 2019 and 2020 to equal Schumacher's record of 7 drivers' titles. Hamilton has been credited with furthering Formula One's global following by appealing to a broader audience outside the sport, in part due to his high-profile lifestyle, environmental and social activism, and exploits in music and fashion. He has also become a prominent advocate in support of activism to combat racism and push for increased diversity in motorsport. Hamilton was listed in the 2020 issue of Time as one of the 100 most influential people globally, and was knighted in the 2021 New Year Honors. Early life and education. Hamilton was born on January 7, 1985 in Stevenage, Hertfordshire, England. His father, Anthony Hamilton, is black and is of Grenadian descent, while his mother, Carmen Larbalestier, is white British, and from Birmingham, making him mixed race. Hamilton has identified as black. Hamilton's parents separated when he was 2, after which he lived with his mother and older half-sisters, Samantha and Nicola, until he was 12. Hamilton then lived with his father, stepmother Linda, and his half-brother Nicholas, who is also a professional racing driver. Hamilton was raised a Catholic. Hamilton's father bought him a radio-controlled car when he was 5. Hamilton finished second in the National BRCA Championship the following year against adult competition. Being the only black child racing at his club, Hamilton was subjected to racist abuse. Hamilton's father bought him a go-kart for Christmas when he was 6 and promised to support his racing career as long as he worked hard at school. To support his son, Hamilton's father took redundancy from his position as an IT manager and became a contractor, sometimes working up to 4 jobs at a time, including employment as a double glazing salesman, dishwasher, and putting up signs for estate agents, while still attending his son's races. Hamilton's father later set up his own IT company. He continued to be Hamilton's manager until early 2010. Hamilton was educated at the John Henry Newman School, a voluntary-aided Catholic secondary school in Stevenage. At the age of 5, Hamilton took up karate to defend himself as a result of bullying at school. He was also excluded from school for a period when he was mistakenly identified as having attacked a fellow student who was treated in hospital for his injuries. In addition to racing, he played association football for his school team with eventual England international, Ashley Young. Hamilton, an Arsenal fan, said that if Formula One had not worked for him, he would have been a footballer or a cricketer, having played both for his school teams. In February 2001, he began studies at Cambridge Arts and Sciences, a private sixth-form college in Cambridge. Junior racing career. Karting. Hamilton began karting in 1993 and quickly began winning races and cadet class championships. 2 years later, he became the youngest driver to win the British Cadet Karting Championship at the age of 10. That year, Hamilton approached McLaren Formula One team boss Ron Dennis at the Autosport Awards for an autograph and said, "Hi. I'm Lewis Hamilton. I won the British Championship and one day I want to be racing your cars." Dennis wrote in Hamilton's autograph book, "Phone me in 9 years, we'll sort something out then." When Hamilton was 12, Ladbrokes took a bet, at 40/1 odds, that Hamilton would win a Formula One race before the age of 23, another predicted, at 150/1 odds, that he would win the World Drivers' Championship before he was 25. In 1998, Dennis called Hamilton following his second Super 1 Series and British Championship wins, to offer Hamilton a role in the McLaren driver development program. The contract included an option of a future Formula One seat, which would make Hamilton the youngest driver to secure a contract that later resulted in a Formula One drive. Hamilton continued his progress in the Intercontinental A, Formula A, and Formula Super A ranks, and became European champion in 2000 with maximum points. In Formula A and Formula Super A, racing for Team MBM.com, his teammate was Nico Rosberg, who would later drive for the Williams and Mercedes teams in Formula One. They would later team up again for Mercedes from 2013 to 2016. Following his karting successes, the British Racing Drivers Club made him a Rising Star member in 2000. In 2001, Michael Schumacher made a one-off return to karts and competed against Hamilton along with other future Formula One drivers Vittorio Liuzzi and Nico Rosberg. Hamilton ended the final in 7th, 4 places behind Schumacher. Although the two saw little of each other on the track, Schumacher praised the young Briton. Formula Renault and Formula 3. Hamilton began his car racing career in the 2001 British Formula Renault Winter Series, finishing 5th in the standings. This led to a full 2002 Formula Renault UK campaign with Manor Motorsport in which he finished 3rd overall. He remained with Manor for another year, winning the championship ahead of Alex Lloyd. Having clinched the championship, Hamilton missed the last 2 races of the season to make his debut in the season finale of the British Formula 3 Championship. In his first race he was forced out with a puncture, and in the second he crashed out and was taken to hospital after a collision with teammate Tor Graves. Asked in 2002 about the prospect of becoming one of the youngest ever Formula One drivers, Hamilton replied that his goal was not to be the youngest in Formula One but rather to be experienced and then show what I can do in Formula One. He made his debut with Manor in the 2004 Formula 3 Euro Series, ending the year 5th in the championship. He also won the Bahrain F3 Super Prix and twice raced in the Macau F3 Grand Prix. Williams had come close to signing Hamilton but did not because BMW, their engine supplier at the time, would not fund him. Hamilton eventually re-signed with McLaren. According to then McLaren executive and future CEO Martin Whitmarsh, who was responsible for guiding Hamilton through the team's young driver program, he and Anthony Hamilton had a huge row at the end of the season, with Lewis' father pushing for him to move up to GP2 for 2005. While Whitmarsh felt that he should remain in F3 for a second season, culminating in Whitmarsh tearing up Lewis' contract. However, Lewis called Whitmarsh 6 weeks later and re-signed with the team. Hamilton first tested for McLaren in late 2004 at Silverstone. Hamilton moved to the reigning Euro Series champions ASM for the 2005 season and dominated the championship, winning 15 of the 20 rounds. He also won the Marlborough Masters of Formula 3 at Zandvoort. After the season, British magazine Autosport featured him in their Top 50 Drivers of 2005 issue, ranking Hamilton 24th. GP2. Hamilton moved to ASM's sister GP2 team, Art Grand Prix, for the 2006 season. Hamilton won the GP2 championship at his first attempt, beating Nelson Piquet Jr. and Timo Glock. He secured a dominant win at the Nürburgring, despite a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. At his home race at Silverstone, Hamilton overtook two rivals at Beckett's, a series of high-speed bends where overtaking is rare. In Istanbul he recovered from a spin that left him in 18th place to take second. Hamilton won the title in unusual circumstances, inheriting the final point he needed after Giorgio Pantano was stripped of fastest lap in the Monza feature race. Hamilton's success in the GP2 championship coincided with a vacancy at McLaren following the departure of Juan Pablo Montoya to NASCAR and Kimi Räikkönen to Ferrari. After months of speculation on whether Hamilton, Pedro de la Rosa or Gary Paffett would be paired with defending champion Fernando Alonso for 2007, Hamilton was confirmed as the team's second driver. He was told of McLaren's decision at the end of September, but the news was not made public for almost 2 months, for fear that it would be overshadowed by Michael Schumacher's retirement announcement. Formula One career. McLaren. Hamilton's first season in Formula One saw him partner two-time and defending world champion Fernando Alonso. Hamilton is the first and, as of 2022, the only black driver to race in the series. After finishing on the podium in his debut, Hamilton went on to set several records as he finished runner-up in the 2007 World Drivers' Championship to Kimi Räikkönen by 1 point, including those for the most consecutive podium finishes from debut, the joint most wins in a debut season and the most points in a debut season. Throughout the season, Hamilton and Alonso were involved in a number of incidents which resulted in tensions between both drivers and the team, culminating in Alonso and McLaren terminating their contract by mutual consent in November. Following a successful first season at McLaren, Hamilton signed a multi-million-pound contract to stay with the team until 2012. Hamilton's success continued in 2008 as he amassed 5 victories and 10 podium finishes. As the season reached its conclusion in Brazil, it became a clear two-way fight for the title between the home favourite Felipe Massa and the young Briton. Hamilton won his first title in dramatic fashion in the last race of the season, the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix, overtaking Timo Glock for 5th position in the final corners of the last lap to become the then youngest Formula One world champion in history and to deny race winner Massa the title by 1 point. This made Hamilton the first British driver to win the World Championship since Damon Hill in 1996. In his last 4 years with McLaren, Hamilton continued to score podium finishes and race victories. Hamilton entered the final round of the 2010 season with a chance of winning the title, but ultimately finished 4th as Sebastian Vettel won the race to take his maiden driver's crown. The following year was the first season he had been outscored by a teammate, as Jenson Button finished runner-up to champion Sebastian Vettel, during a year in which distractions in his private life and run-ins with FIA officials saw Hamilton finish a lowly 5th in the standings, after which he vowed he would return to form for 2012. Hamilton achieved 4 race wins in the 2012 season as he finished 4th in the standings. Before the end of the year, Hamilton announced, to much surprise, that he would be joining Mercedes for the 2013 season, replacing the retiring Michael Schumacher. Mercedes. 2013-2016, teammates with Rosberg. 2017-2020, 4 titles in a row. 2021 season, title battle versus Verstappen. 2022 season. Driver profile. Driving style. Hamilton is regarded as one of the most complete drivers on the grid, excelling across a wide range of areas. He has been described as having an aggressive driving style, with a natural aptitude for identifying the limits of the car. Mark Hughes, writing for the official Formula One website, described how Hamilton is super hard on the brakes, but has a fantastic ability to match how quickly the downforce is bleeding off with his modulation of the pressures so that there's no wasted grip but no locked wheels either. Paddy Lowe, previously the engineering director for McLaren, described how Hamilton is comfortable with levels of rear instability that most other drivers would find intolerable. Hamilton has also been praised for his ability to adapt to variances in the car setup and changing track conditions. Throughout his career, he has typically used less fuel than his teammates as a result of his ability to carry momentum through corners despite instability in the car. Pedro de la Rosa, a former test driver for McLaren who worked with Hamilton and Alonso, rated the pair as the best he had seen firsthand, stating that they shared a strength in terms of how much speed they can run into the apex and still have a decent exit speed, highlighting in particular their ability to maintain this speed when their rear tires have lost grip during a longer stint. Hamilton has been praised for his consistency, especially in his time at Mercedes. From 2017 to 2018, he finished 33 consecutive races in point-scoring positions, a run only brought to an end as a result of mechanical issues as opposed to driver error. Ross Brawn wrote that over the course of, Hamilton hardly put a foot wrong, winning not only the races he should have, but also some where the opposition was stronger, and that is the true mark of a champion. Ahead of the 2021 season, Martin Brundle, commentating for Sky Sports, said, "I think what has stood out about Lewis over the years is how few mistakes he makes, how complete he is and clean. He just never makes a mistake wheel-to-wheel combat and qualifying. He just doesn't fade, mentally or physically." Hamilton is regarded as one of the best wet-weather drivers in the sport, with some of his best performances occurring in those conditions. In the 2008 British Grand Prix, Hamilton bested second-place Nick Heidfeld by over a minute, the largest margin of victory recorded since the 1995 Australian Grand Prix. During the turbo-hybrid era, Hamilton remained unbeaten in every race affected by wet weather from the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix up to the 2019 German Grand Prix, where his almost 5-year streak was broken by Max Verstappen. His wet-weather drive at the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix, where he clinched his 7th world title, was widely acclaimed, with Joe Saward describing it as one of his greatest performances, despite only qualifying 6th for the race after Mercedes struggled with tire temperatures and a track that lacked grip after being recently resurfaced. During the race he gambled on a one-stop strategy in mixed conditions whilst his rivals chose to change their tires for a second time, enabling him to take the lead and win by over 30 seconds. His performance was contrasted with that of his teammate Bottas, who spun 4 times and finished a lap down in 14th place. Hamilton cited the race as his standout performance of the season. Ayrton Senna was a major influence on Hamilton's driving style, recalling, "I think it's partly because I watched when I was young and I thought this is how I want to drive when I get the opportunity, and I went out there and tried it on the kart track. My whole approach to racing has developed from there." He has been compared to Senna in raw speed. In 2010, Hamilton drove Senna's original title-winning McLaren MP4/4 as part of a tribute documentary by the BBC motoring show Top Gear. In the documentary, along with fellow racing drivers, he named Senna as the #1 driver ever. Earlier in his career, Hamilton was criticised for being hot-headed at times, as demonstrated when he was disqualified in Imola in the GP2 series for overtaking the safety car, something he went on to repeat 4 years later in Formula One at the 2010 European Grand Prix in Valencia. Following his move to Mercedes, Hamilton was credited with demonstrating greater maturity, while maintaining his ruthlessness and aggression. The official Formula One website describes him as invariably a fierce but fair fighter. Reception. Hamilton has been described as the best driver of his generation, and one of the greatest Formula One drivers. Several Formula One drivers and experts have described Hamilton as the greatest Formula One driver of all time. Jim Holden, writing in Autocar, suggests Hamilton might not only be among the greatest British drivers in Formula One, but one of the greatest British sportsmen. Despite receiving plaudits from experts and fans in and out of the sport, Hamilton has been a divisive figure in the eyes of the general public, with some journalists arguing his exploits on the track have been underappreciated. Holden has suggested that racial bias may have contributed towards Hamilton's perceived lack of popularity relative to his achievements, with Hamilton's race and physical appearance being mixed race and often seen sporting earrings, dreadlocks, and designer clothing alienating some of the sport's traditional white, elderly male fanbase. Others have attributed his lack of appreciation to the perceived predictability of results during the turbo-hybrid era, likening his period of dominance to that of Schumacher in the early 2000s, and to tennis players Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova, all of whom became more appreciated in the latter part of their careers. Hamilton's jet-set lifestyle and interests outside Formula One have been scrutinized. He has been praised for disregarding convention and public opinion and has been described as one of the last superstar drivers. Between race weekends, Hamilton has on several occasions traveled around the world to explore a variety of interests, such as in 2018 where, after winning the Italian Grand Prix, Hamilton flew to Shanghai and New York where he released his own designer clothing line with Tommy Hilfiger, before flying immediately back to, and winning, the next race in Singapore. Toto Wolff has been vocal in his support for Hamilton's off-track pursuits, explaining how freedom allows Hamilton to function at his best. Figures in the sport such as Emerson Fittipaldi and Christian Horner have voiced their support for Hamilton's ability to connect with fans, while Bernie Ecclestone frequently commented on his admiration of Hamilton's ability to promote the sport, noting how he is happy to engage with fans, unlike some of his peers. Since Hamilton's rookie season in 2007, Formula One's annual global revenue rose by 53%, to $1.83 billion as of July 31, 2016. Sports journalist for The Telegraph, Luke Slater, goes as far as to argue that here have been few better representatives of the sport than Hamilton, on and off the track. Following Hamilton's knighthood in 2020, newly appointed Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali said that Hamilton is a true giant of our sport and that his influence is huge both in and out of a car. A prodigious talent as a teenager, Hamilton established himself as one of the world's best drivers following his record-breaking rookie year. Paddy Lowe has suggested that he turned out to be the best rookie there has ever been and that his first half-season is just the most extraordinary in history. After his first world title a year later, many people considered Hamilton the best driver of his generation. Following Red Bull and Sebastian Vettel's 4-year dominance of the sport, Hamilton's resolve was tested both professionally and personally as he did not finish higher than fourth in the Drivers' Championship from 2009 to 2013, leading some to question his status as the best driver in the sport. In spite of this, Hamilton's less successful years with McLaren have also been cited as a demonstration of driving ability as Hamilton has won at least one race in 15 consecutive seasons, attracting high praise from experts and fellow drivers for extracting race-winning performances from cars that were not dominant. After Hamilton clinched his second and third World Championship titles with Mercedes in 2014 and 2015, David Coulthard declared Hamilton the best driver of his generation, calling him the Ayrton Senna of his era, an opinion which was widely accepted among the public, experts, and fellow and former drivers. As Hamilton became more widely considered the best driver of his era, public and expert debate moved from his status in modern Formula One to his status among the greatest drivers in history. The next few seasons saw Hamilton eclipse a number of records, including achieving the most all-time pole positions ahead of Michael Schumacher, leading him to be regarded by some as the greatest qualifier in history. After winning his fourth and fifth world titles, Hamilton's place among the greats of the sport became firmly established in the opinions of experts, rivals and teammates alike, with some journalists and pundits considering the possibility of Hamilton being the greatest Formula One driver of all time. Following Hamilton clinching a sixth World Drivers' Championship title in 2019, ex-Formula One driver and pundit Johnny Herbert acclaimed Hamilton as the greatest driver ever, a sentiment echoed by his Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff, who described him as maybe the best driver that has ever existed, while Formula One staff writer, Greg Stewart, described Hamilton as arguably the most complete Formula driver ever. After Hamilton won his seventh title in 2020, John Watson stated that Hamilton is, by a million miles, the greatest driver of his generation, and you can argue he will go on to be the greatest Formula One driver of all time, and highlighted his fearlessness as being key to his success, as evidenced by his performance against double world champion teammate Alonso in his rookie season and his decision to leave McLaren for Mercedes. Herbert compared Hamilton to tennis player Roger Federer and golfer Tiger Woods. Helmet. From a young age, Hamilton's helmet throughout his karting years was predominantly yellow with blue, green, and red ribbons. In later years a white ring was added and the ribbons were moved forward to make room for logos and advertisement space. Hamilton continued to run a predominantly yellow design for the early stage of his Formula One career, but in 2014 decided to change to a mostly white approach. In 2017, Hamilton selected his helmet design from fan submissions. The winning design used a white and yellow base color with red and orange details, and the addition of 3 stars, one for each of Hamilton's 3 Formula One championships at that time, on either side. Over the following seasons, Hamilton continued to add more stars to his helmet on winning further World Championship titles. Hamilton has worn specially designed one-off helmets for several weekends throughout his career. At the 2010 Monaco Grand Prix, he sported an altered helmet design with the addition of a roulette wheel image on the top. At the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix, Hamilton brought with him a striking blue and green design in honor of team sponsor Petronas but was prevented from using the helmet by the FIA. Hamilton has sported gold-colored helmets 3 times in his career. After winning his 4th title in 2017, he entered 2017 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in a gold helmet with 4 stars adorning the top of the helmet with the words World Champion. Hamilton wore a gold helmet at the 2018 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix after sealing his 5th world title, towards which he made reference with 5 stars on either side of the design, and did so again at the 2019 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, this time with 6 stars following his 6th World Championship title. Hamilton has also used one-off helmet designs to pay tribute to influential figures in his career. At the 2011 Brazilian Grand Prix, he wore a special helmet in tribute to Ayrton Senna which was auctioned after the race in aid of the Ayrton Senna Foundation. At the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, Hamilton, like fellow driver Sebastian Vettel, wore a special helmet to pay tribute to Niki Lauda, who died at the start of the week. The helmet was painted red and white, Lauda's classic colors, and had his name printed on the back. After the race, Hamilton reflected on Lauda's career, saying, "Ultimately, as a driver, my goal one day is to hopefully be as respected as he was. He's definitely someone who led by a great example, left a great example, and was a real hero to so many." Hamilton again wore a special helmet to pay tribute to Ayrton Senna at the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix. Hamilton wore a rainbow helmet at the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix, 2021 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in support of the LGBTQ and community. Ahead of the 2022 season, Hamilton reverted to using a yellow helmet design. Rivalries: Fernando Alonso, Nico Rosberg, Sebastian Vettel. Public image and influence. Racist treatment. The first and, as of 2022, the only black driver to race in Formula One, Hamilton has been subject to racist abuse throughout his career. In 2007, Hamilton suffered racist abuse from Spanish Formula One supporters at the Chinese Grand Prix. In 2008, Hamilton was heckled and otherwise abused during pre-season testing at the Circuit de Catalunya by several Spanish spectators who wore black face paint and black wigs, as well as shirts bearing the words Hamilton's Family. The FIA warned Spanish authorities about the repetition of such behavior, and launched a Race Against Racism campaign. Shortly before the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix, a website owned by the Spanish branch of the New York-based advertising agency TBWA and named Pinchelarua Dade Hamilton, which translates into English as Burst Hamilton's Tire, was featured in the British media. The site contained an image of Interlagos that allowed users to leave nails and porcupines on the track for Hamilton's car to run over. Among thousands of comments left since 2007, some included racial insults. In 2021, Hamilton was subjected to online racist abuse following a dramatic win at the British Grand Prix. Mercedes, Formula One, and the FIA issued a joint statement condemning the abuse and called for those responsible to be held accountable. Hamilton's treatment by the media and critics has, at times, been criticized as being racist. In 2014, The Guardian journalist Joseph Harker highlighted double standards in Hamilton's treatment compared to other British drivers by British newspapers, suggesting that his skin colour has played a factor in a perceived lack of acceptance among the British public. In 2019, footballer Rio Ferdinand described media scrutiny of Hamilton as having racist undertones and contrasted Hamilton's treatment to that of fellow British driver Jenson Button. At the start of his Formula One career, Hamilton said that he tried to ignore the fact was the first black guy ever to race in the sport, but later stated that he had since grown to appreciate the implications, and changed his approach to promote equality within the sport. In 2019, Toto Wolff, Hamilton's team boss at Mercedes, described how Hamilton was scarred for life by racist abuse inflicted during his childhood. Activism and philanthropy. Diversity and anti-racism. Human rights. Environmental and animal rights. UNICEF and Number Together Band. Other charities. Media reception. In December 2017, Hamilton courted controversy after sharing a video on Instagram of his nephew wearing a princess dress, in which he commented, "Why did you ask for a princess dress for Christmas? Boys don't wear princess dresses." He was condemned on social media and by LGBT charities for his comments. He subsequently deleted the video before later deleting all content from his social media channels, although he returned to actively using his social media accounts on January 17, 2018. Hamilton apologized for his comments, and later appeared at Disneyland Paris with his nephew, who wore a princess dress for the trip, as well as featuring on the front cover of GQ wearing a rainbow tartan kilt he designed with Tommy Hilfiger, saying, "I've done something and then realized the effect I've had. I want to make amends. I accept it, realize it, and I'm glad that I'm accountable for it." In December 2018, Stevenage-born Hamilton caused controversy at the BBC Sports Personality of the Year Awards, where he said on live television, "It really was a dream for us all as a family to do something different. For us to get out of the slums," before immediately correcting himself, saying, "Well, not the slums, but to get out of somewhere and do something. We all set our goals very very high, but we did it as a team." While Hamilton immediately sought to correct his remarks, the leader of Stevenage Borough Council described the comments as disappointing and noted that people felt very offended. Hamilton posted a video on Instagram in which he apologized for his comments, saying, "I'm super proud of where I come from and I hope you know that I represent in the best way I can always. Particularly when you are up in front of a crowd, trying to find the right words to express the long journey you've had in life, I chose the wrong words." The town mayor subsequently accepted his gracious apology. Hamilton's contribution and influence has been recognized regularly in the Power List, an annual list of the most influential Black Britons, in which he has ranked in the top 10 in 2016 and 2017. In 2021, Hamilton was named the most influential Black Briton in the 14th Power List, for his sporting success and his advocacy in the Black Lives Matter movement. In 2020, he was listed as one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people globally, and was knighted in the 2021 New Year Honours for services to motorsports. Hamilton was one of several figures whose tax arrangements were singled out in a report by the charity Christian Aid in 2008. That year, Hamilton received criticism from UK members of Parliament for avoiding UK taxes. Following the leak of the Paradise Papers in November 2017, it was reported that Hamilton had avoided paying £3.3 million of value-added tax on his private jet, worth £16.5 million. According to BBC Panorama, the leasing deal set up by his advisors appeared to be artificial and did not comply with an EU and UK ban on VAT refunds for private use. The BBC also said that Hamilton's Instagram account provided evidence that the jet was used for personal trips. The jet was sold in September 2019. Despite not residing in the UK, HMRC data published in 2019 puts Hamilton among the top 5,000 highest UK taxpayers. Hamilton told the Sunday Times in 2014, "What people don't realize is that I pay tax here, but I don't earn all my money here. I race in 19 different countries, so I earn my money in 20 different places and I pay tax in several different places, and I pay a lot here as well. I am contributing to the country." Other ventures. Hamilton also has interests in music, saying that music has been a huge passion of mine since I was really young. "I started playing guitar when I was 13. In here, I can be me, I can be vulnerable. I can show a side of me that people don't get to see." He features on Christina Aguilera's 2018 song Pipe under the pseudonym XNDA, although he did not confirm this until July 2020, when he revealed he had been writing and recording music for 10 years. Hamilton also made a guest appearance in the film Cars 2 in which he voices an anthropomorphic version of himself. He then voiced a voice command assistant in Cars 3 used by Cruz Ramirez. Hamilton is credited as an executive producer for the 2018 documentary film The Game Changers. Hamilton has also revealed he was offered a role as a fighter pilot in the film Top Gun: Maverick by Tom Cruise but was forced to decline the offer due to his Formula One commitments. He was also served as the maestro of the Gran Turismo series since Gran Turismo Sport in 2017, and his Time Trial Challenge DLC pack was released in that said game on November 28, 2019. In 2018, Hamilton launched the clothing line Tom X Lewis during New York Fashion Week with American fashion designer Tommy Hilfiger, alongside models Winnie Harlow and Hailey Baldwin. Hamilton stated, "Growing up, I remember seeing the iconic Tommy Hilfiger flag, and Hilfiger commented on Hamilton, saying that Lewis is bold in everything he does. He's not afraid to take risks. And he has a cool and sophisticated style that really speaks to the new generation of Tommy fans." In September 2019, Hamilton launched a vegan restaurant named Neat Burger. It claims to be the first international plant-based burger chain. In 2020, Neatburger was crowned Best Vegan Restaurant of the Year at the Delivery Restaurant Awards. In August 2020, Daily Front Row listed Hamilton as one of a group of high-profile investors who purchased W, a troubled fashion magazine. In 2021, for the second consecutive year, Neatburger was crowned Best Vegan Restaurant at the Delivery Restaurant Awards. Neatburger was also named People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals' inaugural Company of the Year. Hamilton also became an ambassador for the luxury watch company IWC, owned by Richemont. Throughout 2021, Hamilton toured the world via Portal Hologram, first in Europe and then making its US debut in Los Angeles in September. In September 2020, Hamilton launched X44 to compete in the all-electric SUV off-road racing series Extreme E from the 2021 season on. The X44 team finished second in the inaugural Extreme E Championship, behind Nico Rosberg's RXR team. In January 2022, X44 were crowned inaugural winners of Extreme E Sustainability Award. In August 2022, Hamilton joined the newly established ownership group of the National Football League's Denver Broncos. Personal life. In 2017, Hamilton told the BBC that he had become vegan because the human race, what we are doing to the world, the pollution coming from the amount of cows that are being produced is incredible. The cruelty is horrible and I don't necessarily want to support that and I want to live a healthier life. In 2018 he was named the PETA Person of the Year for his vegan activism. In 2018, Hamilton said in an interview that he gave up drinking a while ago. His racing number has always been 44 because when he started racing at age 8 his father's red Vauxhall Cavalier had the number plate F44 and it was his father's idea to use it. Hamilton is a fan of art and has said that one of his favorite artists is Andy Warhol. Prior to the 2014 United States Grand Prix, Hamilton wore a gold-framed version of Warhol's Cars, Mercedes 300 SL Coupe painting hanging from a chain around his neck. From November 2007 to February 2015, Hamilton was in an on-and-off relationship with Nicole Scherzinger, the lead singer of the American girl group Pussycat Dolls. Hamilton is a Catholic. He says that he prays regularly and is guided by his faith. Hamilton believes that he has the hand of God resting over him when racing in Formula One. Hamilton is also a supporter of LGBT rights, and strongly criticized the Hungarian government before the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix, while also calling out the terrifying Saudi Arabian LGBT laws before that Grand Prix. On March 14, 2022, Hamilton revealed that he is in the process of legally changing his name to include his mother's maiden name, Larbalestier, as a middle name. On June 9, 2022, Hamilton was made an honorary citizen of Brazil after a proposal made by politician André Figueiredo was passed in the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies. Legal issues. On December 18, 2007, Hamilton was suspended from driving in France for a month after being caught speeding at 196 km/h on a French motorway. His Mercedes CLK was also impounded. 2 days before the 2010 Australian Grand Prix, Victoria police witnessed Hamilton deliberately losing traction in his silver Mercedes AMG C63, and impounded the car for 48 hours. Hamilton immediately released a statement of apology for driving in an over-exuberant manner. After being charged with intentionally losing control of a vehicle, Hamilton was eventually fined $500, being described as a hoon by the magistrate. In 2017, Hamilton's rights management company 44IP opposed Swatch Group's application to register a trademark for Hamilton International in Europe for the sale of watches and timepieces. This was likely to have been encouraged, or even required, by Hamilton's own watch sponsor. 44IP alleged that Swatch Group's application was made in bad faith and that it was contrary to fair competition in relation to 44IP's existing Lewis Hamilton mark. In 2020, the case was heard before the European Union Intellectual Property Office. The UIPO rejected 44IP's arguments, ruling that there had been no bad faith by Swatch Group and that 44IP's Lewis Hamilton trademark did not extend to the word Hamilton alone for the purposes of protecting the existing mark. Residence: Hamilton moved to Luynes, Vaud, Switzerland in 2007, citing privacy as his main reason for leaving the UK. He later said on the television show Parkinson that taxation was also a factor in his decision. In 2010, Hamilton, like many other Formula One drivers, moved to Monaco, purchasing a house worth a reported £10 million. Hamilton also owns an apartment in Manhattan, New York, which he bought for $40 million in 2017, and an estate in Colorado where he has said he would live after his retirement. Wealth and income. In 2015, Hamilton was ranked as the richest British sports person, with an estimated personal fortune of £88 million. In 2018, it was reported that Hamilton had a net worth of £159 million. In 2020, Hamilton's fortune was an estimated £224 million, making him the richest British sports star in the history of the Sunday Times Rich List. Before the 2015 Monaco Grand Prix weekend, Hamilton signed a contract to stay with Mercedes until the end of the 2018 season in a deal reportedly worth more than £100 million over the 3 years, making him one of the best-paid drivers in Formula One. In the week leading up to the 2018 German Grand Prix, Hamilton signed a 2-year contract with Mercedes, reported to be worth up to £40 million per year, making him the best-paid driver in the history of Formula One. Karting record. Karting career summary. Racing record. Racing career summary. Asterisk season still in progress. Complete Macau Grand Prix results. Complete Formula 3 Euro Series results. Complete GP2 Series results. Complete Formula 1 results. Did not finish, but was classified as he had completed more than 90% of the race distance. Half points awarded as less than 75% of race distance was completed. Asterisk season still in progress. Formula 1 records. Hamilton debuted at the 2007 Australian Grand Prix, becoming the first black driver in Formula One. He has set several records throughout his career. Hamilton has the most career wins, most pole positions, most podium finishes, most career points, and most laps led, among other records. When Hamilton won the 2008 F1 World Championship, after finishing 5th in the Brazilian Grand Prix, he had become the youngest driver ever to win the championship at age 23 years and 301 days, a triumph that was beaten by Sebastian Vettel in 2010. Honors and achievements. Formula 1. Formula 1 World Drivers' Championship, 2008, 2014, 2015, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Formula 1 World Constructors' Championship, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. DHL Fastest Lap Award, 2014, 2015, 2017, 2019, 2020. FIA Pole Trophy / Pirelli Pole Position Award, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020. Hawthorne Memorial Trophy, 2007, 2008, 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Lorenzo Bandini Trophy, 2009. Other awards. Throughout his career, Hamilton has received several awards and honors. He won the Laureus Breakthrough of the Year Award in 2008 and the Sportsman of the Year Award in 2020. Hamilton also won Pride of Britain Awards, Best Driver Aspie Award, BBC Sports Personality of the Year Award, LA Keep Champion of Champions, and Gazeta World Sportsman of the Year, among others prizes and awards. He was elected FIA Personality of the Year 4 times, and was inducted to FIA Hall of Fame in 2017. Orders and Special Awards. UK. Member of the Order of the British Empire. Knight Bachelor. Grenada. Honorary Award, Grenada. Recognition. A portrait of Hamilton by photographer Dario Mididieri is held in the collection of the National Portrait Gallery, London. The Hamilton Straight, Silverstone Circuit.